Pagitt Radio. Woo! Final segment of our dinner hour.
Yes.
If you don't know, we're now referring to the first hour as the cocktail party.
Yeah, that's right.
Around here, because it was started in 1917 by a woman in St. Louis who wanted to have a little party before the Sunday meal.
Yep.
So hour one, cocktail party. Hour two, the Sunday meal. Where we do the right on, where we have a segment where we give a shout out to people who are doing the things that are good, the things that are right, the things that are the way the world ought to be, where people rise above the things that make them say, cripes, come on, you've got to be kidding me. Where we
rise above
the problems, where we rise above that which brings us to our knees and we stand again.
We stand.
And we stand tall. Walking Tall.
Walking Tall.
Remember that movie from the 70s?
Oh, man. Guy scared the crap out of me.
Oh, me too. That's interesting.
Purvis,
We've never talked about this. Yeah.
Oh.
And he carried that bat.
Joe Don Baker.
Oh, yeah. He carried that bat. There was this whole genre of movies of standing tall and Billy Jack and like these men in the 70s that were going to fight back against the system with their hands and with their bats. And boy, that really shaped me. It really formed me. And when I got into Christian stuff in the early 80s, coming through a childhood of that stuff, it really was a contrast to think that maybe the one who was the savior in the Christian narrative wasn't one who was fighting with fists and feet, but with goodness and love and care. Yeah, see, and that's the problem is that you sort of get, those guys were cool.
Yeah.
And Jesus was kind of a softie. Yeah, he took it. He took it on the tree rather than, bringing him a piece of the tree, that kind of thing.
Well, I remember he'll get him in the end, Doug.
Yeah, and then people come up with that narrative, don't they? Then they come up with the narrative that someday people are going to get him back. But around here, we like to do the right on, where people are going to be doing the right thing, where they're standing tall.
Yes.
Without a bat in their hand. I guess the contrast is more. There were three movies from my childhood that stick in my brain. Walking Tall.
Yes.
Did scare me. Yeah. Billy Jack, that inspired me. And Born Free, that just utterly confused me.
Oh, my gosh. I cried every time I watched that.
Did you really?
Little Lying Cubs.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, see, that's why I appreciate the show on before ours.
Yeah?
Yeah.
The pet people?
Yeah, because I'm not a pet appreciator enough.
Yeah, you're not.
See, Born Free. Yeah, confused me.
Yeah.
People all talked about it and loved it and everything. I didn't really get it. Well, we do a right on segment around here where we encourage people who are doing those things that are good and those things that are right. Now, you might know that in Minnesota as well as Missouri, there were big tornadoes a couple of weeks ago. And they were a real problem. Well, in Minnesota, there were so many volunteers that they had to plan a day and turn people away. And turn people away. Now, you could think that what's sort of a classic, it's an easy pickup to give the right on. And some people were saying, oh, just give it off to the volunteers. Kind of do that. Then I had some other suggestions this week. You know what suggestion I had from somebody?
What's that, Douglas?
Well, I was chatting with a gal at the garage sale, and she said, hey, you were at our church. You did a sermon a couple of months ago. Some of you might remember. I had to rush in here in a fancy suit. Told you that I was over to church in the wintertime. Had to get myself over here back when the when the weather was dangerous outside.
And you were looking good.
Yeah, and I ran into this gal who was there, an older gal. She'd been a member at the church for 50, 60 years, something like that. So she was well versed in this thing we call life.
Yeah.
And she said to me, hey, you preached at my church a couple of months ago. And I said,
cool.
yeah, I did. And she said, oh, I remember. Yeah, frankly, I was a little disappointed. And some people said, she should get the right on your show for telling you that. And I thought, well, I don't know. I just think that's kind of just
that's rude.
Limited social abilities right there. I don't think we give right ons to people with limited social abilities. But anyway, so she could get the right on. But here's who I want to give it out to. There were people in North Minneapolis who were saying this very interesting thing. They were saying, you know what inspires me about the volunteers coming to North Minneapolis? They're not from here. You know who I think get the right on? Is people who don't determine our responsibility by our location.
Oh, there you go.
Anyone who's willing to say, my proximity to you is not what creates my dependence upon you.
Yeah.
Anybody who says that my willingness to be of good cheer to you isn't dictated by how close you are to me. Or are you on the north side or the south side of that street? Yeah. Or does the border run in front of or in back of me? I think that's not how we should be orienting ourselves in the world. I think people who organize themselves according to location primarily need to have a broader vision about the goodness of the world. And I think anyone who's willing to step across lines and act as if they're not doing something meaningful by crossing that line gets the right on.
Yes.
So the volunteers who said, it's not because it's North Minneapolis or even the city of Minneapolis. I mean, if someone comes down from Brooklyn Center and comes to the other side of 694, they haven't done something spectacular because they drove to the other side of 694.
Right.
They've done something spectacular because anywhere someone is in need, that's the place we ought to help.
Yeah.
Those are the people who get the right on. Not just someone who helps, but the person who says, it's not going to be important to me where you are. And I think this is meaningful for those of us who live in the United States, because there's always this argument. Why are you helping those people?
Yeah.
How about the right on goes out to people who don't organize according to those people and us people? That's a good right on. And that's what I saw happening for people in Missouri and people in North Minneapolis, was folks saying, it's not about where you're located.
Yeah.
But we do have this strange sense of connectivity, right? Last week, I have a friend who's from Missouri, and she said, I think that we should really pray for people in Missouri. And I know that she thought that was important because she felt more connected there. Well, maybe the trick of this life, maybe the meaningful place of this, maybe the true right on goes to those of us who find multiple ways to connect with everyone who's in need anywhere.
Yeah.
As opposed to saying, it's not my neighborhood, I'm not going to help. I mean, that's just nothing but trouble, right? Somebody who organizes around like, hey, you know what? I take a left at that corner, not a right.
Right. Yeah.
Like, since when is that? Like what age do we live in? What tribal period do we live in? Where like, well, the people on the other side of the creek over there, that's not my tribe. I don't care. I think our humanity, our
calamity would have only happened a mile closer.
Yeah. Then I think it would have been my responsibility. I think we should see ourselves as these great volunteers did. I think we should be inspired by their faith. We should be inspired by their hope, by their love, by their strength. They're the people who've created something new for all of us to aspire to.
Yeah.
That is, when someone's in need, you help. You don't help. You don't check their address. You don't check their zip code.
Yeah.
And maybe for the rest of us, we'll get to a point where someday in life we'll say, well, that's really great. You're not even from here and you helped anyway.
Yeah.
Well, how about the fact that we're all human beings? Or how about the fact that we're all caring creatures on the planet?
Yeah.
Maybe we'll reach a point where that will be enough. And for those of you who this last week did that, who yesterday, on that big Saturday volunteering day, were willing to cross those boundaries and didn't think it was a big deal, may your strength bring us strength. May your faith bring us faith. May your hope bring us hope. May your love bring us love. And those of you who need to be serenaded by that, you get that from Doug Pagitt Radio on this Sunday afternoon. So those of you who are making the world the way that it's supposed to be, in whatever ways, those of you who are finding the goodness, the rightness, the beauty of this world and are doing it, we send it right on to you. You might be the unsung hero in some places, but around here we want to sing your hero-ness. That didn't make any sense. I'm just talking now. I'm just saying things that are making it worse.
No, keep going.
So keep talking. Maybe it's going to get better. Hey, for those of you who've stepped out, have done the right thing in whatever area of your life it is, right on. Good for you. Keep it up. Make the world the way that it's supposed to be. From Doug Pagitt Radio. And we'll be back with you again next week here on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.